If I was a Panthers fan, I would have walked out of the stadium at exactly 5-9 when Brisbane led 24-8. And I would have missed the most remarkable comeback in grand final history. Brandy, how are you? This is the last of the Ezra Mam tries. At this point, all over.
Well, I didn't think I could get any lower when Ezra Mam crossed for his third try for the Broncos to lead 16 points. But from the kick-off set, Isaiah Yeo was knocked out on tackle 3. The third penalty of the game was blown in Brisbane's favour, which we challenged and then lost that challenge.
Yeah.
We were under all... We were at that stage absolutely gone. Brisbane were moving the ball, offloading it. Our defence was under so much pressure.
Yeah.
But then Stephen Crichton came up with a massive play, got to a loose ball, offloaded it. Penrith travelled 15, 20 metres, then got themselves out of trouble. And that was, for me, the turning point of the game. Stephen Crichton and Nathan deserves all the raps in the world. That was the best 20 minutes of football I've ever seen in a big game. But Stephen Crichton was only a tick behind him. He put 2 kicks in that gave Penrith repeat sets. He came up with a big play that I just spoke about, and it was the most incredible final 20 minutes. And they did have time on their side, the Penrith boys. But like you, I gave them no chance of coming back.
Well, it's interesting because Ivan Cleary was asked at 6 a.m, albeit it was 6 a.m. He said there was nothing he could do. And what does that say about the players, though, to be able to come up with that effort 16 down?
Well, to be able to come up with that effort without Jerome Luai, who had left the field, and without Isaiah Yeo, who did come back on a little bit later, but after 15 minutes, and that happened after that third try from Ezra Mam. It says everything about Nathan, really, and the team. But to be able to pull the side together and not deviate from the game plan, it's historical. That's what it was. On Sunday night, it was historical, and it's one of the great grand finals and one of the great grand final performances from a team and an individual.
That individual obviously being Nathan Cleary. The weird thing was, and he even admitted himself, that perhaps the 20 minutes before that miraculous comeback was pretty poor from him.
Well, it wasn't good for many Penrith players. Like they were opened up down that right-hand side, and Nat's on that side defensively, and it was just the speed of Reece Walsh and Ezra Mam that had Penrith under pressure and saw the Broncos jump out to a 16-point lead. But for them to hold their nerve, not panic, not do anything ridiculous, because, I was out there and you're not looking at stats during that time, but I have since gone back, I've watched the game again, I've looked at the stats. They did not make an error in the second half. They made one error in the first half. They did not make an error in the second half. And I think one error would have cost them the chance to come back into the game. Yeah. So if they do anything crazy and try anything that they know that they shouldn't, it doesn't happen.
Well, speaking of moments and nightmares, Reece Walsh, when Nate Cleary went through, he was meant to be there in that hole. How would he be feeling? How many sleepless nights is he going to have now until his next opportunity?
Well, I think grand finals have a massive effect on players. And we've seen players make errors in grand finals that have, in the end, rightly or wrongly, cost their team the game. I think. Yeah, it's such a... Look, I honestly felt... I was surrounded by Brisbane fans.
Oh, were you?
Brisbane fans were everywhere. They outnumbered the Penrith fans. And...
Did they give you a bit of lip?
For a fleeting moment when I was jumping up and down like that little boy was just earlier, I glanced sideways and I felt for the Brisbane fans, fleetingly. But it did happen. There was a moment.
It did pass.
There was a moment
you
of
got
empathy.
better.
I thought, we were just going through that. I know how you're feeling right now.
And I like how you're still holding on to that. You're still remembering.
Well, that was 20 minutes to go, 25 minutes to go. Penrith were really no hope of winning. I don't follow the betting, but I've since followed what had happened to the betting on the run.
Yes.
Ezra Mam was $1.04 to win the Clive Churchill medal. For those believers still with Nathan Cleary, he was paying $51 at that stage.
I remember sitting there on the couch, and when it opened up, because the camera's at the perfect angle, he's like, this is going to happen. And it was just me sitting on the couch trying not to wake up the kids, and I was like, this is going to happen. Yeah. It was a huge comeback.
I'm sure Reece Walsh will be thinking about that because, fullback's job is to just fill a hole wherever it is, particularly close to the line, and you only have to hesitate for a moment. That half yard that you don't take early, you can't make up in the end, and that was that space opened up for Nathan.
I can't believe I'm going to debate you on the performance of the NRL final. I thought Cleary was brilliant, but Ezra Mam, not his hat-trick of tries, but that guy can work a camera like no other. I thought he was looking into my soul on the third try. I've worked in TV for 20 years and I still can't find the right camera to look into. But he knew exactly where to look.
Yeah, if you're a Brisbane supporter, you would be saying, yeah, that is our man, Ezra. And he's had a great season. Dalian 5'8" of the year.
It's this try here, I think you're talking about, Mel. It is beautiful how he finds the camera.
There it is there. There it is.
And a cheeky smile.
It's not finished yet.
That was also a centre-fold pose. You just see how he laid out. Looking spectacular.
And the fireworks, Greg, started before it. Nostradamus in Gus Gould got it wrong by about 30 points. He said the Panthers were going to absolutely smash them. So the mind game started pretty early.
Yeah, look, I challenged anyone that wanted to tell me what they thought might happen. But who did anyone pick that happening? No one picked that. No one said, you know what, Penrith are going to trail by 20, nearly 20, and then come home and win by 2.
Yeah.
But the second half had 18 unanswered points to 18 unanswered points. Brisbane first, then Penrith scored 8. It was 8-6 at half-time. And I, in the box at half-time, I was trying to rally the troops, but we were in trouble because I said, I know we've gone... Now, Penrith's half-time record when in the lead is 72 from 73. That's their half-time record coming into Sunday night's grand final. Wow. So I kept throwing that out, saying, well, that's it. But I thought we were in trouble at half-time.
Yeah, absolutely extraordinary game of rugby league. He was going to, Ezra Mam, the great palindrome of rugby league, he was going great, as we saw, until he got the pickle juice into him. Or not quite into him. This is supposed to relieve cramps, I understand.
Apparently.
Oh, really? Yeah. When I'm hungover, I'll tell that to my partner. I'm just relieving cramps at this point in time. I mean, it's pickle juice. It must smell horrific. Because he didn't score after he had the pickle juice.
No, absolutely.
But he spewed
on the
4
field,
times.
on the field or off the field, you don't score after pickle juice. That's
right. It has been a terrific season for the Broncos, but you fly that close to the sun, honestly, you get your wings burnt, kids. And it hurts, as Coach Kevin Walters admitted.
It's just hard to get your head around what actually happened. So, anyway, yeah, it's very disappointing. I feel for all the players in there that gave so much, but just wasn't enough in the end. Sometimes the football gods just take things away from you, and they did that tonight to us.
Football god being Nathan Cleary in that case. See, kids, that's really is why you don't want to get into the grand final. It's much better to just roll along being averages because you don't get that pain. You don't have to worry about it.
I'm almost with it is. There's nothing like losing a grand final, and I've experienced that, and it is shattering. But it can be motivating too. But it'll be a long summer for the Brisbane team because that was at 60 minutes. It was their grand final.
And Kevy said before the game that it was about defence for the Broncos. Like, offensively, both teams can score, but who's going to hold up defensively? And that's essentially what happened.
Such a close game. You don't want to go back to little things, but little things matter in that moment when it's just a 2-point football game. This one here, the short drop kick. Now, Herbie Farnworth, he's up by himself. Rather than take it, he does the bat back, which is then straight over for the try.
I can only assume that Herbie had...
Who was great, by the way, Herbie. He's a
great player. Yeah. Only had tap back in his mind as the kick was going through and didn't realise that he was the only one contesting the ball and could have caught it easily. But, and they are one of those moments that, the players will go back and go, why didn't I catch that? The clean catch was on. There was no one else contesting the footy, but his mindset must have been tap back and just didn't realise that no one else was fighting for the footy.
But is that him or his teammates around him as well, with the communication aspect?
Well, I suppose everyone, but Herbie had the chance to catch it. His teammates didn't. They were slow to react. Mitch Kenny, who scored his first try of the year, his second try in his career, was just sort of loitering around in the back play as well, and the ball bounced his way.
I love it. Look, if you've punched out a shark, been a world champion, you're allowed to have a couple of drinks when your team wins the granny. Who wouldn't want to hear how Penrith fan Mick Fanning rated Nathan Cleary's performance?
Are you kidding me? He's the greatest athlete on earth. Seriously, swear to God, he's the greatest athlete on earth. He just went absolutely loony in the last 10 minutes. So good. You know what? It's going to be Black Sea, and we're going to have so much fun. Let's go! Are you ready?
Now, Mick,
Through Westy.
I know.
Swear God.
Now, Mick, you're supposed to spit out the pickle juice. Like, you're not supposed to hold on to it. I mean, you mentioned it there in the throw. It does make sense that he punched out a great white when you see him like that. Like, you can imagine him in the ocean just going, think you're great, do you, champ?
Absolutely brilliant. It's time now for our Steel Blue moment, brought to you by Steel Blue Boots, a mark of true skill. And what a performance from Dally M medalist Tamika Upton to carry the Newcastle Knights to back-to-back NRLW titles. They gone as well against the Gold Coast, who were inspired by that three-try performance. Jamie Chapman, who had a sensational game, like Ezra Mam scoring 3 tries on the losing side. But Tamika Upton, 4th premiership, I think 2 with Brisbane, now 2 with the Knights. She is just a great player.
She is a great player. She's a great athlete. She's a great runner. She can read the players well.
Yep.
She's the Dally M Player of the Year. She had a great season. So congratulations to the Knights girls for going back-to-back.
Yeah. And the Titans, of course, had come from wooden spinners last year to get to the grand final. Brilliant performance from them as well. Steel Blue is a proud partner of Breast Cancer Care WA, with $10 donated to Breast Cancer Care WA for every pair of pink and purple Steel Blue boots that are sold. Over $1.8 million has been raised so far to help provide specialist nurses, counsellors and, of course, financial support to those affected by breast cancer. Visit steelblue.com to show your support.